Alright guys, so welcome back. So now that we've learned those very important definitions, relevant cost, opportunity cost, sunk cost, let's tackle the first class example. So the first class example says a company owns 100 koi, which is fish. I did not know that, so I know now that koi is fish, which have a market value of 3,000 per fish. The cost to feed the fish until they die is 12,000. So 3 parts required. Number 1 is direct cash cost of choosing not to sell the fish but keep them until they death. Part B, what is the opportunity cost of not selling the fish? And part C, what is the relevant cost of not selling the fish? Okay, i.e., what is the financial impact of the decision not to sell on the enterprise? Alright, so 3 requireds, which is really covering 2 parts of our definition which we've learned earlier. So number 1, part A is, if we choose not to sell the fish, well, what's the choices? We really only have 2 choices. We're going to sell the fish or we're going to keep the fish. Now part A is saying, if you choose to keep the fish, if you keep the fish you have to feed them. So if you feed them, it's going to cost you 12,000 Rand, and so the direct cash cost of choosing not to sell the fish, which is part A of the required, is that it will be 12,000 Rand, and you'll see it's a negative because we have to pay that 12,000 Rand out. Alright, so it's a negative, okay, because that's money going out that we need to pay for the fish. Then part B, what is the opportunity cost of choosing not to sell the fish? Now I just want to remind you of the definition of the opportunity cost. An opportunity cost is the best alternative foregone. So there's only really 2 alternatives in this situation. You either sell the fish or you keep the fish. If you choose to not sell the fish, in other words you choose to keep the fish, the alternative that you forgo is selling the fish. Alright? And if you had to sell the fish, you would have gotten 100 times 3,000, which is 300,000. So the best alternative that you forgo by choosing choosing to keep the fish is 300,000. Alright, so let me repeat that. There's only 2 alternatives: keep the fish or sell the fish. If you choose to keep the fish, you forgo the alternative of selling the fish. And the selling of the fish alternative would have brought in 100 times 3,000 per fish, which is 300,000, and therefore the opportunity cost is 300,000. Alright, and then lastly, what is the relevant cost of not selling the fish, i.e. the financial impact? So in many questions you'll see questions will ask for the financial impact, which is the same as the relevant cost. So so basically there is basically 2 alternatives. We have sell on the side and we have keep the fish. Okay, if you sell the fish, if you sell the fish, you would have gotten 300,000. Okay, that's positive, right? 300,000 coming in. If you choose to keep the fish, which is on the side, you have to feed them until they die, and that's going to cost you 12,000. Alright, negative. Now remember, question C is essentially asking you for the relevant cost. Now the relevant cost, very important definition. It's the future. So in the future, if you keep, you have to feed and cost you 12,000 Rand. Or you could sell and it's going to bring in 300,000. Okay, and that's all cash. Because it's cash outflow, negative outflow for feeding, positive inflow for selling. And differs between the 2 alternatives. And clearly you can see that the 300,000 differs from the 12,000 by so if you say 300 And the word differ, mathematically we're going to minus, right? So 300,000 minus 12,000 is equal to 312,000. So now, depending on which direction you read this from, if you sell the fish, you are 312,000 better off than keeping the fish. If you keep the fish, you are 312,000 worse off than you would have been if you sold the fish. But the difference between the two alternatives is 312,000, which is the relevant cost. Remember, it's a cash flow. 300,000 and 12,000 are both cash flows, right? It's in the future. It's both going to happen in the future, and it differs by 312,000, and that's the relevant cost. All right. So that's the answer to the last part. Okay, so check back in the next video where we will continue with example 2.